And we're live. Nice. Kind of a weird delay. I apologize for that. Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday. It is 7 p.m. It is time for the Wednesday weekly Whitmer Wisdom. Here we are. Jim Ostrowski, one of my mentors in the Liberty Movement, has always told me that alliteration and stuff like that is also helpful. So I'm going to adjust this camera a little bit there. Alliteration is helpful. So in memory of Jim Ostrowski, who might be watching, he may not be. He's hanging out with his family tonight. Weekly Whitmer Wisdom Wednesday to stick with the great alliteration by the great J.O. This week's going to be a little bit different. What we're going to talk about is Buffalo, New York. Those of you that follow me that may not know, I live in a suburb of Buffalo, Hamburg, New York. Buffalo, New York has an issue with something called a food desert, which is a lot of residents don't live within a close area of a grocery store. And the mass shooting in May really amplified the situation they had because the only grocery store that they had actually was shut down after the mass shooting. And it really amplified the problem that Buffalo has with this food desert. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight because in typical state of defiance fashion, in typical empowering the individual, not the politician fashion, I have some solutions to solve the food desert problem, or at least put a big chunk of damage into this issue. And it doesn't involve government. It doesn't involve politicians. It doesn't involve central power. It involves the people working together in a community fashion. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into this. Buffalo, New York, like I said earlier, has a food desert problem. For those that don't know what a food desert is, it is a large group of people don't have access readily to a grocery store. So they're struggling. There's a lot of convenience stores, which doesn't sell, great food. There's a lot of processed food. So their diet suffers. Sometimes there's just shortages. So they're not getting great nutritional value food. So there's a problem with that. Really, that amplified COVID because COVID has an issue with if your underlying health issues, you could die from COVID. So if you're obese, which buying poor food leads to poor diet, which leads to obesity, which leads to issues during COVID. So it was a big deal. There's a lot of issues. And then, like I said, the mass shooting in May, where they had to close, it was at the Tops, the only store that they had, forcing that store to shut down for a bit. Well, now there's nothing for these people and there's a real struggle. So you have a couple solutions. How do you solve this problem? We could easily go to the local politicians, the Buffalo Council, and say, hey, help us. And they can come out and do a photo shoot, and they can say, yes, there's a food desert in Buffalo, and you need to vote for me, and I'll solve your problem. Although they've been winning elections for, couple decades, and there's still a food desert problem. So looks like it's not high on their list. And they can get a photo op in front of it and do a press conference and say, there's a food desert problem and we're going to solve it. Then they can make a committee to solve the food desert problem and give money to the Western New York Income Inequality Foundation. They'll say, yeah, there's a food desert problem. And then they can hire their friend who helped their campaign to get reelected. They can hire him and he can say, yeah, there's a food desert problem in Buffalo. And then we can give a $100,000 grant to another guy, and he'll say, yeah, there's a food desert problem in Buffalo. Then we could spend $1 million on a new development of a new committee, and that committee can give $1 million to another program, and then they can hire 20 people for a couple years to say, yeah, there's a food desert problem. And then 10 years go by, and there's still a food desert problem, and nothing got solved. And that's what's been happening. That's what Buffalo, New York is currently doing. Politicians love saying there's a food desert problem. They give zero ideas. So option 2 is we can call Walmart or BJ's or Sam's Club or Aldi or Tops, or we can call a corporation and say, hey, New York State sucks to do business. New York State is the least business-friendly state in the nation. We will give you $100 million of corporate welfare so your wealthy stockholders can get richer and you can pay your loaded contractor friends. We can call Simonelli, who definitely was caught doing bid rigging with the Buffalo Billion Plan. We can call Simonelli and you can rig a bid and you can all get rich. And we can all hire our friends and our friends can get wealthy, and we can beg a store to put in another store, and we can give them huge tax breaks. and a lot of corruption and a lot of backwards deals, and maybe some people will go to jail, but it's a risk we're willing to take to grip the taxpayers $100 million. And then some more politicians can get rich. Some people can get a job. Their friends that own construction companies can get a couple bucks. And then maybe we get a grocery store. I'd like to remind you that for like 20 years, Bass Pro Shops was coming to Buffalo. Fun fact, there is not a Bass Pro Shop in Buffalo, but I'm 35. And I remember hearing about this when I was in high school 20 years ago, that Bass Pro Shop was coming to Buffalo. There is still no Bass Pro Shop in Buffalo. So we can do that for 20 years too. Or we can realize that the government is a jobs program run by shitbags and do this. In Buffalo, you have tons of vacant land. There was homes that became decrepit and they tore them down, and there's a vacant plot of land. We'll use that later. You also have people who are hungry. That is a problem. If you travel 30 miles out of Buffalo to Genesee County or to rural Arcade, rural Erie County, rural Niagara County, you have people called independent farmers who own animals that they butcher and eat. I buy my food from an independent farmer. They grow crops, they grow food, and they sell that food, sometimes at roadside stands, sometimes at things called farmers markets. So we have product here, literally 30 miles away, and people here that want said product. It sounds like a great place for something called capitalism and the free market. So back to these vacant lots you have. What if people started buying these vacant lots? What if they then said, you know what, we're going to do a state of defiance fashion unlicensed farmers market. We're going to reach out to farmers who are literally up the street and say, hey, on Tuesday or Saturday or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, you pick the day. It's your land. Do what you want with it. We're going to invite all of these local farmers, and we're going to allow them to sell their product on these vacant plots of land that we bought. If you drive through Buffalo, there's no shortage of vacant plots that aren't being used, that are overgrown, overrun. Maybe what I'll do, I'll come back to this in a few weeks, and I'll get video of the vacant plots. When I ran for comptroller, I did a video shoot, and I got like 30 of these plots in like a 3-block radius. They're everywhere. So you say, hey, I'm going to invite farmers to put up a table and bring their product to where the consumers are. Product, consumer, food, eating, simple. And you say, wow, Dwayne, you are a genius. Why has no one thought of this before? How are you so wise, Mr. Whitmer? And the answer is it's probably been thought of before. This isn't a new idea. The issue is, what happens here? Well, here comes City of Buffalo. Do you have a permit? Did the health department make sure it's okay you do this? And this is where, if you're a resident of Buffalo, you have to make a decision. And I've already made the decision. I'll tell you what I did. You can continue to suffer. You can continue to be without, and you continue to hope someone else solves your problem. Or you can call the bluff of the state. You can tell the health department to shove the permits up their ass, that you are two consenting adults engaging in a transaction, and you are going to buy that food. It's simple as that. I will tell you, for a matter of fact, I buy my food from a farm, directly from a farm. I rarely go to Tops. Sometimes we go to Tops for other things, but we get fruits and veggies every week from a farmer. It's $25 a week, and we get a ton of food that we throw some out every week because we can't go through it all. There's just 2 of us in the house. For $25, it's more fruits and vegetables than my girlfriend and I can eat. And for about a little bit more than that, I get quite a few pounds of pork, chicken, and beef a week. Now, I will openly admit that my farmer that I buy this from does not go to an FDA-approved butcher, because he does not butcher in high qualities. Therefore, he does not get the discounted rate. In doing this, I am taking a risk. I am taking a risk that since it's not an FDA-approved butcher and he's not paying the extra fees and licenses, there might be something wrong with it. That is a risk I will take. Freedom is dangerous. I will say this, that in the 35 years that I've been doing this, I have gotten sick 0 times. I went to Wendy's 2 weeks ago and didn't make it out of the parking lot before I got sick. Tyson Foods, one of the largest food producers in the country, has had massive recalls multiple times, many times in the last 10 years. This is better quality. And even though it doesn't have the FDA government-approved stamp of love and care, he didn't pay the extortion fee so that the FDA can hire some wiener that shouldn't have a job, so he has to work for the government. I've never gotten sick off this food. I've been doing it for, like I said, I'm 35 years old. I've been doing it for almost my entire life. I've never gotten sick. It's better quality. It's better product. It's better raised. It's better all around. And it's cheaper. So I'm proof that you can do this. And I will continue to do this. And I will continue to defy any regulation the state has. And I'll say this, if I go to a farm and I get sick, maybe I don't buy his stuff again. So then he loses anyways. He has no incentive to get me sick because then I'm not going to come back. It's called common business sense, which the government doesn't have, because if the government runs out of money, they just tax you more. So it's fine. Look, this is a possible solution. I look forward to working with people in Buffalo to try to make this happen. I have a lot of clients that are farmers. I have a lot of friends that are farmers. I have people that I buy from that are farmers. I look forward to working this in Buffalo. I look forward to calling Buffalo's bluff, because does the city of Buffalo really want to waste time chasing people who are giving food to people who are hungry and ignoring the fact that the city of Buffalo's PR woman just got let go or suspended without pay for saying that she's afraid of black people? We really got to start calling the bluff of the government and see if they're going to start enforcing their own bullshit laws, or if they're willing to do mass non-enforcement because we're doing mass non-compliance. We can rely on a politician. We can rely on Mark Poloncarz and Joe Biden and Lee Zeldin if you want, Kathy Hochul. They don't have any ideas, guys. They don't care. Kathy Hochul won her election a month ago. Buffalo Food Desert, she'll come back and talk about that in 2026, next election year. These politicians don't care. Government doesn't care. They don't have to. What happens if the Buffalo has a food desert? Are you going to stop paying your taxes? Their tax checks, their paychecks are still coming through. It's time people of Buffalo and Erie County, we start uniting as communities and working together and solving these problems. In 2023, this is something that Whitmer for Liberty and I am going to push along with Erie County Libertarian Party. We're going to see if there's interest here. We're going to try to start doing state of defiance food desert solutions, community-based food desert solutions. Because quite frankly, people in Buffalo are hungry, and I have people that have food. And so, my feed's getting a little weird. Hope the feds aren't here or something. My internet's coming in and out, guys. So if the feds are here, I didn't kill just like Jeffrey Epstein, I'm not going to kill myself. So looks like we're all back. But I think this is the stuff that people should be doing. Instead of giving your resources to politicians, political movements, central figures, I think we should be working together as neighbors and communities to help each other. And this is something in 2023. It's, I guess, my New Year's resolution to start helping people solve this Buffalo food desert problem one bit at a time. So there we are. It's 14 minutes in, so I'll keep it short. This is Dwayne Whitmer with Whitmer for Liberty, the Jim Ostrowski method alliteration of Weekly Whitmer Wisdom Wednesday. Today we talked about the city of Buffalo food desert problem and the government solution, which is nothing, or give a lot of people corporate welfare to get nothing done, and the community-based defiance solution, which is stop relying on the government and start working together with your neighbors. So thank you guys for tuning in. Follow me on Facebook at Dwayne J. Whitmer, YouTube at Whitmer for Liberty, and Twitter at Whitmer for NY27, which is the last holdout of my failed congressional campaign where I ran for Congress against Chris Jacobs and got my ass beat. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a great week. Take care. I will see you next Wednesday. I believe next Wednesday I'm going to talk to Ostrowski if he's not busy, and we're really going to talk about direct action and really what direct action is, how you do it, why you should do it, and incorporate that into what is the state of defiance. So see you guys next Wednesday. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, I didn't hit